Good afternoon. My name is Tim Marx. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for Catholic Charities of St. Paul in Minneapolis. This state, our Star of the North, that we love so much, was established long before any of us had the good fortune to call it home. And it will be home to millions more in future generations. I come to this gathering today, as I know many of you do, anxious and concerned about the future of this state for those future generations. So it is appropriate that we gather in vigil to reflect and pray for our state, that it may find its way through this challenging time. As concerned as we are and should be, I think we can take heart and have hope, for our leaders are united in their concern for our state and in their desire to put us on a brighter path for a better future. So what is our way forward? If we listen, if we really listen, a path may present itself. We have a tendency, all of us, to take a stand based on where we sit. Our preferences and our positions shape our perspectives and experience. Now here are various points of view I am hearing from Minnesota leaders, all of whom have a strong desire for a better Minnesota. One perspective, the $39 billion of projected expenses from which the governor and the legislature are recommending cuts represent the needs of vulnerable people and communities that are struggling in the aftermath of the Great Recession. These needs are not a mere list of wants. Another perspective, projected revenue for the next 2 years without any tax changes will grow 9% to over $33 billion, an increase over the prior 2 years that exceeds the rate of inflation. With businesses and families struggling, how can we grow jobs in the economy if we increase revenue even more? We can't afford to meet all of the needs. Another perspective, Minnesota's overall tax system is regressive. Those with higher incomes pay a lower percentage of their incomes in taxes than those with lower incomes. And the total share of state and local tax revenue when adjusted for inflation is actually less than it was 10 years ago. We can afford more revenue. We can afford more revenue. I'm getting a sense of the perspective from which you come. Another perspective, homelessness, hunger, and poverty are increasing, affecting more people's ability to meet their basic needs and maintain dignity. Moreover, poverty is expensive. It is bad fiscal policy and bad economic policy. Failure to address basic needs in housing, health care, and food, and not providing kids a healthy start will cost us more in services and in reduced productivity in the long run. On the final perspective I am hearing, we have the highest corporate tax rate in the country and the 5th most burdensome personal income tax. How can we ask businesses and business owners to pay more and stay in Minnesota if they are going to compete and create jobs in the global economy? Every one of these perspectives is accurate and valid, which lead, however, to very different conclusions. So what do we do? Perhaps we all need to learn more about the perspectives that we don't share, that we don't fully share, and recognize that each of them has something to contribute to a way forward. As we do this, though, let us be reminded that our faith traditions and our Minnesota heritage requires us to listen to some more than others, to listen with the ear of our hearts, to listen to the least among us who are most in need of a voice, and to provide preference for their dignity. So when we know that poverty, homelessness, and hunger rates in Minnesota are increasing, when we read that our schools are also serving as food shelves for homeless youth, we must treat human dignity as sacrosanct. Above all else, above limiting ourselves to current revenue only, and above taking the existing tax code as a gift. Now, unfortunately, the toll of the last several years on the poor and the vulnerable, and the resulting impacts on the state's economy, will not be washed away, regardless of what happens this year. But by listening more and learning more, we can begin charting a course to a better future. There has to be a way to combine spending reductions, new revenues, and reforms so that we can create jobs and grow the economy, protect human dignity, reduce the long-term costs of poverty, and preserve Minnesota as a bright and shining, hope-filled star of the North for this generation and generations to come.